everybody. Welcome back to another episode number 52 of the Trial by Error Variety Show podcast, featuring unsigned talent, independent talent from all over the world, and this season in particular, my friends. This episode we are talking to Brielle Gearson, the future queen of the world. That's right. When women rule the world, it's a little something she's working on. We'll talk about it. This is actually the first episode where we feature poetry. Straight up. Get some poems in here for that ass. I shouldn't disgrace it like that. It's beautiful poetry. Speaking of disgrace, I want to give a really quick podcast shout out to Disgraceland. If you're a music behind the scenes lover and you like a little bit of fantasy with your nonfiction, right? Indulge yourself in the Disgraceland podcast. It's been around for a couple years, and I did a little bit of research. They're big. They don't really need any shout outs. This is just me turning you guys on to good stuff, I guess. Shout out to the Collateral Cinema podcast and the Collateral Gaming podcast, both of which are brethren of mine, local focals, and they got some really fun episodes out everywhere you find your podcast. They're doing cool things. But enough of that chatter. We got plenty of chatter to get into right here. Hope you enjoyed this intro by Birocratic called Bob Ross Goes to Hollywood. And you can find it on my favorite Discovery app, Bandcamp.com. And without further ado, everybody, enjoy the show! All right, so long time no see.
Just a few days.
I'm going to keep checking, though. This time, I'm going to keep checking.
Cool.
We are good. Anytime we freeze, we are going to... Unfortunately, we're just going to have to keep calling each other back, because we're going to get this right, damn it. For some reason, FaceTime's never really worked good, because I've kind of revamped my Mac multiple times, and that's like the built-in one. So
right.
Whereas Skype, I can continue to get the updates that are like operate for everybody universally.
Right.
And, Apple's just kind of super slow in their game as far as like fixing the bugs in the FaceTime thing, because they've never really been. It has always been glitchy for me, and I've never really got to the point where I feel comfortable recording with it.
Really.
Skype is really good, and then I'll use Google Chat too. I can record off of that as well, but not a lot of people use that. I've used that like one time.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I used Skype, and I was having a hard time getting into my accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden today, not only did I get into my old account, but I got into my old account on my phone, and then I tried to log into my old account through my computer,
Mm-hmm.
and it just created a whole new account for me. So I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay, let's not have two Skype accounts. It makes such a big difference being on the computer, though. I think that was maybe the part of the issue as well, because I was using FaceTime on my phone last time.
Okay, so yeah, and also having our talking points too. What I'm going to do once we get to kind of the end of that point, I will stop the recording and then start it again. So that way, at least I can track down like what we've missed, if anything.
Probably be easier for you to like get into it whenever you're editing, and you'll know like what points there.
Again, I've never done it that way either, so you're right. It might help me. Although normally I just let everything kind of flow. The only thing I really cut out are where I'm discussing production notes with people. I keep the genuine conversations, and then I just cut out like, okay, I'm going to add this part now, and this part, and this part. And I'll cut that out. No. No, I'll keep it in. Maybe I'll keep it in. Yeah, I am. Well, because it instantly records. As soon as the call starts, it records.
Yeah.
But I always just try to keep everything flowy.
You know? Yeah, totally. And organic.
Yeah, exactly. Candid. You know, it is important to have topical discussions, but at the same time, I don't want to corner anybody into talking about something that they don't want to talk
Yeah.
about.
I like to think I'm a pretty open book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe a little too open. I have to
Yeah.
sometimes censor myself. I have friends that are like, maybe you shouldn't tell people those stories. And I'm like, why? Why not?
Yeah, why not? In this day and age, we really don't have anything that's so demonized that we can't discuss it. There are so many more experiences and so many more happenings where mainstream people are coming out and saying like, "Oh no, I did it, and look, I'm back to work on my Daily Show job," and yada
Right.
yada. And it's thank God for like Joe Rogan and people like that
Mhm.
who are just very open about psychedelics. I mean, in a way, they're kind of putting their life on the line if you think about the
Yeah, but
charges.
yeah, totally. I
Hmm.
think that it just creates a culture where it's not as taboo
Hmm.
anymore. So it makes it more comfortable for people to talk about things that normally would have been,
Yeah.
such taboo subjects that would put them into a corner where it's like, oh, you're this type of person. It's like, no, all kinds of people go to all kinds of different places.
Yeah.
Once we're all in this experience together.
We sort of touched on it a little bit, but I want to talk about what it was like transitioning from super backwoods small town life into the culture that you were immersed in immediately in LA to then, finding love and chasing love and moving and following your heart into another small town completely away from wherever you are and then circling right back to LA. So briefly give me a run through of like how that process, like, okay, there's clearly you're after something and you are
Yeah.
attaining your goals. I've seen you from day one going out chasing this, and so like what you're doing, you are accomplishing your goals. I wouldn't even say it's a roundabout way. I feel like the way you've done it is just organic to you.
Yeah.
And the fact.
Well, I think that there's something about like the journey that I'm on and the pursuit of this particular career path and profession is that there's so many different ways to do it. It's like there's a lot of different ways to just do it however you
Mhm.
feel. A lot of people do it in different ways. So I think that my journey has definitely been unique to me. I think that I have a pretty crazy story all in all.
Yeah,
Um,
take it to when you packed your bags, you're like, this is it, going to LA, you know?
Well, first of all, like I always knew I was going to live in LA.
Mhm.
It started when I was maybe like around 11 years old.
Hollywood, by the way.
Hollywood. Yeah, 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 Hollywood. Well, I knew I wanted to be an actor. I knew that it was something that I wanted to do. I had started dabbling around in it just, in school. And I found so much freedom in like playing these different characters. And I got signed by my first agency when I was 10, but we had to move around a lot. My mom was just like, oh, that's cool, but like we're going to Florida. So my heart was crushed because I already knew that I wanted to experience that. So it was just this long time coming type thing where I knew eventually I was going to be in LA. So when I left Bandera, and I moved to Austin, like my whole intention for moving to Austin was just to get my toes into the water
It's a good
and build
warm
up.
up.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. I moved there when I was 16. I immediately started taking acting classes and I was doing different film things there, very, very small. And then I, took custody of Tristan. So that consumed my life for like almost 5 years. And then once she got older and I had spent the summer in LA, I was like, I got back to Austin. I was like, you know what? Like, I really want to move to LA. And she was like, let's go now. It was supposed to be a whole nother year once she graduated. And I was like, what? Don't tell me twice because I will literally pack up everything and move. So
Hmm.
that's what happened. It was like, I just decided that I was going because she was like, sure, why not? And I was like, what? But it's your senior year. What about prom? What about this? What about that? She's like, I don't care. You've sacrificed so much for me. Then I might as well sacrifice something for you.
Hmm.
And she came out here with me, ended up not staying. It did not work out,
Mm.
but yeah, that was okay. She needed to like finish her journey on her own. She was already in a space where she was making her choices for herself. At 17, it's like you kind of know who you are, and sometimes you just got to do things on your own.
Hmm.
So she ended up going back to Texas, and then I just like went full into the whole LA experience and found myself meeting all kinds of crazy people that I literally would have never imagined that I would have slipped into. Like,
did this entail a lot of sneaking into back doors and charming door handlers? You know what I mean? Is that what this?
oh,
Or did you just meet
absolutely.
people that could kind of like, no, you're with us, come through? Like what?
No, totally. So actually, the first night that I went out in LA, I had lived in LA for 2 days. And it was this club that was up the street from my place. And the guy that I was working for, his CEO of his company was like, hey, you want to meet some people? You should go out to Bootsy Bellows on Tuesday nights. That's kind of like the night to go. And I was like, okay, cool. So I get dressed up. I show up to the door. There's a whole bunch of people, like maybe, I don't know, 75 to 100 waiting outside. And I go straight up to the door guy.
Whoa! This is the Roxbury. No one gets in unless you're on the list. Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I'm Brielle. I want to come in.
Check this out. You ever heard of this one? You're not on the list.
Like, I'm not even waiting in line. Everybody's staring at me. And he's like, who are you with? And I'm like, I'm by myself. He's like, okay, come right in. You know,
Wow.
that kind of thing where it's like, oh, if you're a girl, if you're with girls, like, yeah, come in. So they just like let me right in. And then once I was inside, then I ended up, you know, meeting some guy on the dance floor, and he was like, come over to my table. And then he kind of pawned me off, which the time, because I had no idea about bottle service or like that whole thing. At the time I was super offended because he and I were talking, and then he was like, come to my table, and then like handed me off to another guy. And the guy was like, here, let me get you a drink. Like, come up here. And there's like 10 other girls at the table. And I'm like, wait, but where'd that guy go? Like, I'm so confused. And I just wanted to like dance and meet people. And then one of the girls at the table was like, no, it's cool. He'll be back. Like, just stay and hang out. And then we ended up becoming friends. And she introduced me to like a whole bunch of people where we ended up traveling to France together. And like, I went on different trips with her and met a lot of people. Like, I ended up meeting this guy that through her that I had dated for 3 weeks and lived in Hong Kong with, and then went to Thailand. So it's like, I don't know, I just like stepped into this world of 1% really quick right off the bat.
Man, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was all glitz and glam, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Did that ever fade? Did that ever feel like, I mean, did it ever feel scary, or were you grounded enough to know like I'm enjoying this because, you know, like this is what you've kind of been working towards, you know?
Well, I don't think that I was working towards like that lifestyle.
I definitely know that, but just getting yourself in the door.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, I feel that I always had a sense of like grounding throughout every experience in my life. So for me, I saw it as just an opportunity to experience a different type of life. You know, it was a little intense in a lot of the ways that like the relationships, the way that people treated one another, and the way that it was like so surfaced. And then I really had a rude awakening when a good friend of mine passed away. And then the way that like that whole friend group, because I mean, it's a small world, you know, it's like LA is a big city, but those types of people, it's a small.
There's still circles.
Yeah, there's still circles, exactly. So it just kind of made me like step back and realize like, wow, like I don't really mean that much to these people. It was like a realization that I needed to harbor more in-depth relationships with people that are a lot more low-key. But yeah, I got distracted.
And you spent, what, I would say like 6 years, 7 years there?
I spent 6 years.
Okay.
So I lived in LA for 6 years, and then I moved away last October. So I was gone for 6 months, and now I'm back again.
Well, I came upon a spot that was simply the most beautiful spot I'd ever seen in my life. And I said at that time, if I ever had I would build a house there. I always wanted a house in the mountains. When I was a kid, I wanted a house in the mountains. And I said, if I ever get the chance, I'll build a house in the mountains. And then it came, and I did. And I built it on the spot that to me was, as I said, the most beautiful spot I'd ever seen.
a place to walk your puppy, and then you find this guy that just like sweeps you off your feet, and everything is going good. Then next thing you know, you're moving out of LA, which I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, hang on. Like, you spent all this time getting, which I knew was only going to be temporary. I knew it was never going to be a permanent thing. But it just seemed like kind of right when you were like picking up steam, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's something that my mom said too. But I mean, at the same time, I was just gone for like 6 months. So
Yeah.
it's okay. I mean, I am really appreciative of the journey, because although I love the creative world in LA, the dating world is really, really complicated, and it can be very draining and empty, and people are constantly looking over their shoulders, both men and women, for like the next best thing. And so to find those like in-depth connections where people are really just real with one another is rare. And so I had dated a lot of different guys in the 6 years that I was here, and I didn't have that deep connection that I was searching for. Like when I moved to Costa Rica when I was 18 and I lived there for 3 months, I dated this guy that would just like totally swept me off my feet because he was just such a great guy, and he really set that precedent for the way that I wanted to be treated. And I wasn't being treated like that in any of the relationships that I had. And then I met this man that totally spoke to my heart, and the way that he would write to me and the way that he would express himself and look at me and hold me, it just like opened up this void for human connection that I knew I had, but he completely and totally filled it. And so I took a total risk and chance and was just like, you know what? I have done so many crazy things. Like I have risked all kinds of things. Like I've done a lot of different crazy shit. Anyways, but why not take a risk on the one thing that means the most to me? It's like the one thing that scares me would be like dying before ever experiencing true love. And I had this opportunity to experience true love, and I went after it.
Yeah. And then there were some, Costa Rica had some really magical moments. I remember you telling me about that. Also some pretty scary moments, when the tide came in on you while you fell asleep and you almost drowned.
Yeah, no, that was brutal.
Yeah, and and there's stuff like that.
Some other
it's like,
scary moments too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then I remember that kind of changing you. I remember you kind of coming back with being like, no, man, like I've, sort of that near death like really propelled you. I remember that was like the fire was started,
Yeah, well,
it was like Costa Rica, then all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm going to LA, I'm gonna live in LA, I'm gonna be
yeah.
Like,
well, the whole
serious.
Yeah.
She's leaving this fucking place.
Well, even just about going to Costa Rica, I remember my friend that had moved there was like, once I got there, because he wasn't responding to my emails anymore, he was like, I didn't think that you were ever going to come. And I'm like, what? Like, I told you I was coming. Do you know who you're talking to? Like, I'm the kind of person that I'm going to just do it if I want to do it. And, Costa Rica was propelled by Emily's death and by my cousin Bridget's death too. It was like I was so confused, and I had all of a sudden this kind of sense of prejudice and racism that I had never really felt before. And then I was like, wait a second, I don't want to feel this. So I'm going to go down and like experience a culture that is tightly, I mean, they're two completely different countries, but still, like, as a culture in whole, like I wanted to go down there and just learn the language and be surrounded by people that that I didn't know and that I didn't have like a relationship with, culturally and otherwise, and it was a whole soul searching adventure. And it was the best thing I could have ever done for myself. I mean, it really, really opened up my eyes to so many things. I did yoga for the first time on Valentine's Day, and I seriously attribute my trip to Costa Rica at 18 years old to saving my life. And it's funny because my grandmother said whenever I got back that she thought she was never going to see me again because I went. And I mean, it was a totally crazy, risky thing to be an 18-year-old girl and go down to, Central America, not speaking the language and going by yourself. But the gifts that I experienced during my travels there, I've held in my heart forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I came back feeling so solid about what I wanted to do in my life and just who I wanted to be. And this like part of me that was healed.
So I guess you've always adapted the home is where you want to be, as far as like where you find that you're grounded is just simply where you want to be.
I think it's a place within for sure. But I think that,
metaphorically,
for me, yeah. I mean, but for me, like your surroundings and the space where you are physically, you should be completely and totally excited and happy about it and feel like that is where you want to be. But yeah, I mean, metaphorically for sure, it's like tapping from within and finding that like balance and sense of self no matter where you go, like I feel like I could adapt anywhere. And I did. Like I think that moving to Georgia was a really good experience for me too. It was a good moment to step away from all the loud busyness of LA, being such a massive city. And it's like LA and New York. Those are like the biggest places when it comes to creative work or film or modeling or whatever. It's like, and finance, like money, it's just there. I mean, there's little pockets of things for actors all over the country, but I mean, and there are people who work in different places. I mean, Atlanta is a big place and there's definitely a lot being shot down there. So when I moved to Georgia, I was like, well, there's Atlanta, like I can tap into the scene there. And I did. I had, not in Atlanta because I was a little bit too far, but I had an agent in Savannah and I was just doing a lot of modeling, and modeling has never been my passion. I actually hate modeling.
What about modeling? Is it that turns, I mean, not even for the money,
Not even for, I mean, I'll do it for the money, but like, it's not, I don't want to spend my time modeling. I just don't feel connected to it. I don't feel like I'm very good at it. Like it's awkward for me. I would much rather be like doing something, it's like, yeah, you can quote unquote act behind the camera, or like, I mean, in front of the camera to model, like you're acting like different poses, you're acting emotions, but you're not expressing like a full spectrum by speaking your mind and knowing your character's objective and knowing why you're doing what you're doing, like just, and who you are, what makes you tick. Like that to me is so fascinating on a psychological level, that I'm drawn to acting because I want to know why people do what they do. And it's fascinating for me to learn something about someone, which in turn helps me understand myself more, but also like helps other people understand themselves more and broadens your perspective.
Do you think that there are models that do that model like they're acting, like they embrace some, it seems like it would be a harder experience to do because it's more intimate as opposed to being on a set where, I don't know. I mean, you would know.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I have model friends who their photos convey an energy, like it's strong, and it's definitely a skill that's beautiful and powerful. I just personally don't connect to it that well. Okay. Like I would rather act than model, but
that's a really interesting perspective. I never really thought about that. I mean, I always just sort of pictured a guy behind a camera, just being like, okay, look like you're crying. Yeah, just give it a little squirt.
Yeah. But I mean, I have model friends who like do not act, who hate the idea of acting. It like freaks them out. So.
Yeah. Feed my mind with love.
watching. So you were like, oh, check it out, I'm in the row. Yeah, so I'm in the warehouse. And there's like no discretion. They're like, we're going to the warehouse. I'm like, oh shit, this is Brielle. Like, here we go. All right, we're in, you know, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody else. But yeah, I was just like, damn, this is for real, dude. Like, this is not. You're like, no, I have some lines. I'm like, all right, you know. So I'm kind of like looking at the characters, and I'm like, where's Brielle gonna fit into this? And then boom, like, yeah, out of nowhere with it, like crazy.
Yeah, it's full on. That was a fun thing. It was a little intense, obviously.
It looks very intense. I mean, there's like some really good close-ups, and like, I'm like, damn, dude, I had to have been a tense day for sure for you.
Yeah, it was. I dug deep for like, where I was pulling from that character, and I had to like have some memory triggers that were a little unpleasant for me to be able to go to like the kind of mannerisms and attitude and persona that type of person has. So it was challenging, and it was a bit ironic in the same sense, just because it was my first feature film, and to be playing a character like that was ironic considering like my background and my history with my mom.
Yeah.
So
just everything. Yeah. It's also like,
I was like, am I really preparing to be this person right now? Yeah, I am. And like, what better character for me to be for this time? Like, I got this one down. Like, I know how to do that.
Right? I mean, you've seen shades of that. You know what I mean? And like, I just thought that was such a cool role as just a breakout thing for you, you know, like you're in there, dude.
Yeah.
And then another cool thing, so you sent me the trailer for the feature that's I guess being showcased, you said at Tribeca?
Yeah, so it got accepted into Tribeca.
Okay.
I don't know when the festival actually is, but we'll see. I think that they're entering it into some other film festivals too. Hopefully Sundance, Toronto Film Festival maybe. So it was such an adventure, and it was a lot of fun to shoot that movie. And that was definitely my first big role, and I was so proud of the role that I have in that, and the character. It was so me. It like really spoke in depths about like the kind of person that I am, you know? So for it to be this political parody and a comedy, kind of a cult classic comedy.
Yeah.
Stop it, Michael.
It's normal. Every man does that.
You behave like your president.
You know he's my idol. Maria, I'd like you to meet Susan. She's my executive producer, my fixer. And this is John. Does all my social media for me.
I hear Michael might put you in his next project, Show Girl Wars.
Nice. You're gonna be perfect for this show.
Do I have to make love to you to be in your show?
Well, it wouldn't hurt.
This is Area 51.
Where are we?
Nothing works. Google's gone. It's the end of the world.
Whoa, whoa.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt you, okay? If you guys are gonna do a layout for Hustler, I'd like to watch.
This is disgusting. We've created a safe environment for women.
What about the man?
Men caused unprecedented chaos around the world.
My boyfriend voted for him.
We've exiled men.
Where are we?
I feel like an extra in Star Trek without the catering truck.
Don't worry. We'll get out of here. They're only women.
And it looks like you shot in some really classic places too.
Oh,
like
it was so beautiful. We shot in the Valley of Fire in Nevada, so it was like 45 minutes away from Lake Mead and like really close to the Grand Canyon. And the rock formations were stunning. I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful location. So we shot out there in July, which nobody wants to shoot a movie July because it's way too risky. And it was a mess because of that. Like we had ambulances called multiple times. We had like 7 people dropping from like dehydration. Like it could have been real disastrous. And it was in some sense, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's a part of making movies. Like things get crazy. Sets can be like a bit unorganized and just intense, and it shows like a lot about, you know, the cast and the crew for being resilient and, you know, waking up at 2:00 in the morning for call time and shooting like and just until like midday, but still it being super hot by, you know, 9:00 in the morning. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. All in all, it was really, really fun.
Well, I love that. I cannot wait to experience all of that. So one of your other adventures that I've always been intrigued by is your journey out to Burning Man. You've gone multiple times, yeah?
Yeah, I have. I've gone 3 times. I really wanted to go last year, but it just didn't line up. And the sale just happened a few days ago for the first sale of tickets, and I didn't make it, but I'm really, really putting it out into the universe that I want to go this year. Last year, I had an opportunity to go, and I had all of my costumes out, but I was going to go with a crew that I didn't know at all. Like I met a bunch of people from Australia, and they were just like, "Come to Burning Man with us." And then there was like a little bit of drama within them and their crew, and I was like, I don't really know about this, you know. It was like if I would have done it and once I got out there, I know I would have been fine. But there were some other moving parts in my life that I just didn't feel called to go to that last year. But it is incredibly life-changing. It's one of the best and most difficult experiences I've ever had in a kind of a vacation. It's not a setting, but it's a cultural experience. It goes beyond like a vacation. It's really deep and it's really powerful and it's really beautiful. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's intense.
Yeah, it seems like there's so many moving parts that would actively change somebody's life, from the art to the people that kind of run it, that like the family that are still there actively making this thing happen, you know, to the way that people organize themselves around and in such a perfect formation given the chaos that's out there and no parameters, you know.
Yeah.
It really is remarkable.
Cool. Yeah, how it like comes together, you know. It's like they build this huge city of like 80,000 people within a few weeks, and then after 9 days the whole city is broken down and nothing is even left. And it has such beautiful, like the 10 commandments, it has such beautiful intentions, and people go with usually everyone goes with the right kind of mindset, you know. It's like it's self-reliance, but also like taking care of one another and gifting and cleaning up after yourselves. Like it's insane that there's an entire city and there's not a single piece of trash. Like I've literally never seen trash on the playa out there. And I think that that's so beautiful that people are just so conscious of taking care of each other. But at the same time, like it can be really harsh, you know. I ran into some experiences where I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like this is so intense. Where I would get lost, or I would be just by myself, and it would be like I would get scared, but then something would happen and someone would come up and like help me out, and I would feel safe and taken care of. And then I'd go on this crazy adventure with this person that I just met. So it's, there's definitely like some bigger workings there. It's like whatever's happening in your life, when you go out on the playa, it just shows it in such a, like, it materializes and it shows it to you in such a tangible way that you're able to really face things and like get into flow or realize where you're not in flow really quickly, you know?
There's a place, a wondrous place, where like-minded individuals gather out on the playa. They subscribe to a whole new set of ideals, They represent a newfound society where creativity flows and parameters are as wide as the open terrain. That place, that wondrous place, is called Burning Man. Burning Man. Burning Man. Burning Man. Hey, are you going to Burning Man? Bury your toes in the desert sand. Ain't no man for to tell you how to be. Come on down with me to Burning Man. I got a recipe for cosmic flan. Strip off your clothes and set your aura free. There's a place I know called Black Rock City where we're about to get down to the nitty-gritty. We're all children of the stars above, searching for answers and feasting on love. Hey, are you going to Burning Man? I got a big old slab of veggie ham. Come to Camp Disorient to bring some soy cheese. Free-thinking people at Burning Man. Amazing Larry's got the master plan. It's all about just letting myself be me. There's a gal I know called Moonstone Annie. She blows flames right out her fanny. You ought to see her walking on the tight wire, juggling bananas while her hair's on fire.
Yeah.
Adapt to that, or you're gonna be very reliant on people who are, smart enough and kind enough to have planned ahead for people like you. I can see how a bulk of that population is gonna be that latter kind. Who has been out there, who knows, okay, this is going to be a culture where I'm going to contribute to. Does that make sense?
Right.
So,
and I've always tried to go with the mindset of contributing and giving back, like to my camps, even though I've been in camps that are not the the foundational type camps at all.
The Google camp you were telling me about, like the Google camp, or
yeah, like the big tech guys, just the ones that are like super, super expensive and exclusive and have like bodyguards and cooks and like it costs, I don't know, $50,000 to put a trailer there for the week type thing, It's like super nice as far as amenities go, but so disconnected from the actual foundation and intention of what Burning Man is. And the next time that I go, I'd much rather like to be, and I will be connected with a camp that is really inclusive, that's smaller, and that everybody has their moving part and piece.
I would love to go there. That's definitely, it's on my bucket list, but it's like on a high priority where my my priorities as far as my bucket list. There's some stuff on there that I'm like, yeah, I could, but that actually has a date. I want to go to Burning Man before I'm 40, so I only have 6 years to make it. So
you would love it. It would just rock your world in every way possible.
That's why I'm scared to go.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to experience it too. The last year that I went, I didn't even party that much. Like I had like 2 nights where I went really far and was just kind of like, oh, sure, why not? Oh, I'm doing this and doing that. But all the rest of the 9 days that I was there, I literally was sober. And the only thing that I had was hape, which I don't know if you're familiar with what hape is, or rape. It's a tobacco ash that's mixed with some herbs, and it's used in like traditional jungle tribes of Brazil or Peru. So they use it in ceremony. It's actually like the indigenous way of using tobacco. So they make it in this powder because it's ash, and then it's like snuff. So you have this little pipe that you put into one nostril, and then you blow really quickly, like, and it goes into your sinus cavity, and it's supposed to decalcify your pineal gland. But what it truly does is it clears your mind, so your mind connects with your heart, and it only lasts for like 30 seconds, but it's really nice to do before meditation because it just like wipes your mind clean, where you just settle, and there's kind of like this vibrational feel that you get throughout your body. But when I would get into different states being out on the playa, I would just like go off into deep playa and just sit down in the middle of the desert and have a little ceremony. And then people would come up to me and be like, oh, what's that? And I'd share it with them. And the few people that I shared it with, they were crying afterwards, and they were just like, thank you so much for sharing that with me. So it's a really beautiful medicine.
It's amazing how much psychedelics or just stuff like that, just a
It's literally
natural,
just tobacco. It's
but
like,
yeah, it's just a natural from the earth. People have figured out, just, I don't know, man, these are such great stepping stones for people to experience emotional communication, or just little things like that just break the walls. We're like, oh shit, I didn't even know I was holding stuff back. And here it is in front of a stranger. God damn it.
yeah. It's incredible what plant medicines do for us.
Yeah, just
like,
herbal, holistic. Yeah, I love it. And one thing I'm curious about Burning Man, and this has just been something that's been said. It's sort of discussed jokingly on podcasts here and there about how Burning Man is, they are trying to form some sort of circle big enough to see from space, or it's supposed to, once the circle's a certain diameter, it opens up a portal. Like, there's all kinds of weird street myths about like what it is. And what you were explaining it to me is that's just how camping's set up. Like, no, it's
well, that's all that I know personally, is that that's just the way that the camp is set up. But when you look at it from an aerial view, which I'm sure you've seen, it definitely looks like, a crop circle. It's like
it's signaling an alien or a different entity or something.
Yeah. Well, and when you're out there, like, it feels like, for me, I've had moments where I'm like, this is bigger than just a gathering. Like, there's something bigger happening here. There's a rise of consciousness. Like, the type of manifestation that happens in such a like quick, tangible way. Like, a couple stories. So my friend, she was out on the playa with a group of friends, and they were in deep playa, and they had all walked, and they were just sitting around in a circle like, oh, how are we going to get back? How are we going to get all the way back to the camps? It's so far. And she literally says that she thought in her head, oh, I'm just going to call Matt, who she hadn't spoken to in a year. And she's like, I'm calling Matt telepathically. All of a sudden, Matt rides up on an art car and picks them all up and drives them back to camp. Like, that is a real story.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy that people can think about stuff and it will just appear and happen if you're like in flow.
That is
like
bizarre. Matt's like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Matt's like, hey, what's up, guys?
I was kind of lost.
I was just riding around. Another one was like, my friend was walking around and he's like, man, a cookie sure sounds good right now. And right at that moment, a girl's like, who wants cookies? Like, walking around with a tray of cookies.
Damn.
So,
cookies always sound nice, especially in the desert. I'd be more like, man, water sounds nice.
I made, because you gift things, so I made body mist made with essential oils. And so there was like, awaken and like just different scents that would like spark different things with essential oils. And a few times that I handed them out to people, they were just like, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. Because it's hot out there. So it's like you spray yourself with the mist of essential oil. It's kind of like, whew, citrus. It wakes you up.
Gets in your pores too, you know.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, I'll dream of it until I go.
Hey, are you going to Burning Man? 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 Hey, are you going to Burning Man?
All right, so you're still you're now you're back in LA. You've only been gone for 6 months. You dip your feet back in the pool. You were telling me that you want to hit the ground running and get back into acting, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, this is my first breakup, so I'm being a little bit gentle as far as time goes. But I had a really great meeting last week for this voiceover opportunity for this book right here. It's called Hi Boo.
Hey Boo, Lost in New York.
Yes.
Nice.
Great purpose behind this character in this children's book. So they've partnered with Wild Aid, and so now Hi Boo is the face of Wild Aid. So it's all about this little girl, this northern native girl, and she gets lost and she breaks off on an ice cap and floats to New York and sees all these animals trapped in a circus and sets them all free because she can communicate with them. So this is just the first book of like many others, but they're creating a storyboard for the cartoon right now. And so I'm probably going to do some voiceover for that. And I also want to help develop it a little bit more too. So I think it's really incredible because they're also creating a curriculum. So that's, becoming an educational thing for how to protect animals and how to protect the planet. And it's in like 147 different countries. And so she's the most relatable children's character. So it's super cool. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I haven't started auditioning yet. I'm kind of like just feeling into my space right now. I kind of want to see where this is going to go because this is definitely in alignment with my goals and my passions and the kind of messages that I want to send through my work. Yeah. So it could be a really good opportunity. So
yeah, which kind of brings me to, I mentioned something when we first started talking about how it seems like you've taken a roundabout way, but I really feel like the way that you've done it is you've sort of just tried to shake all the naivety out of you and really approach everything you do with a standard as opposed to just, I'll take anything and everything and do it. I mean, as like we even talked about, like, not, even though modeling is money, it's just, you've always set a standard for yourself. And I admire that about you. And so I have no doubt that Hi Boo is going to be awesome. Just like I have no doubt that when women rule the world is going to be hilarious. Just because I know that your perspective on stuff and your the way you communicate that is honest.
Oh, that really means a lot. Thank you so much, Chaz.
That's true. I've always liked it, and I really would love to hear your poetry. You said you had some. I really loved the first one you read. So
well, I would love to share my poetry.
Yeah, but I need you to retell all of how that poem came to be.
Yeah, so the first one is called I Wonder, and it was inspired by my dating life here in LA before I met my ex. It was that craving, and I was actually in a relationship with someone that was off and on for 2 years, and it was just this kind of like roundabout thing that is so common in like modern day dating before someone is just kind of like, not even maybe before, but just this in between, it's like it's a comfortable state. Like we lived close to each other, so it was like comfortable, but like neither one of us were really jumping into commit, and it was kind of just games back and forth. And so it inspired this poem, and I really like this poem, so I'm appreciative of the experience.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay. I find myself wondering what you think of me, what you thought of me, or if you still think of me. The things I did good, would you tell me? Or the shit you never thought I would do, would you tell me that too? Because the spark of magic that I felt and still feel, was it real? Or something I just made up to make the merry-go-round of tender touches that never quite ripped the heartbeat out of the darkness that I am still trying to find. And I wonder if you found the one to heal the scar on your heart, the one that kept you blind from seeing me in the shadows of our lives. And I wonder if the pain I caused you opened the pain from another, or maybe even deeper, the pain from your mother. Because my mind is clouded by time, but what I find is this string of hope I believe is the same string that I weave and I wove ever since I believed in love in the first place. And all these faces with all these hands that fit, but never quite gripped the way that I wanted it to. So in my dreams, I gleam and glisten as I listen for all that is desire unbound, love waiting to be found. In this dance, I dance on a skyscape, embraced by my own fate.
Yeah, that's definitely experience, just yeah, it speaks volumes. I mean, I feel so blessed to have found what and who I found, especially here in this tiny little town that really I feel like didn't have anything to offer me. I truly feel like it's a miracle that I'm able to communicate the way I communicate with Stacy, and the way that poem makes me feel is just lucky. You know what I mean? Like just like, even like when I think about something that I didn't want as opposed to something that I didn't need. When it comes to this person, like I have everything I want and need, and that's just so rare.
Yeah, it is rare.
It's like you can want everything, and you can want this, and I like to think that my expectations are realistic, but at the same time, like I'm a complicated guy, so, lots of kids, so yeah, it's just really awesome. I'm proud of you for writing that. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a deep moment. He was had me questioning a lot, so it definitely brought up this introspection around what it is that I was really looking for, and that it wasn't there with him, but that it was still fun. Mm-hmm. Merry-go-round, so to speak.
Yeah. And when you're learning something too, and that just keeps the fire going too. Is sometimes that merry-go-round, you see different sides of people, and some of them you don't like, and some of them you're like, oh shit, like there's more to love too,
Yeah.
So it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
But eventually you get dizzy, huh?
You do. And this next piece was inspired by another man. Okay. And yeah, this is a cycle or a merry-go-round in a completely different way. Mm-hmm. So I'll share this one with you. Right. This one's kind of raw for me because it's based on my recent experience.
Okay.
So it's pretty new still, and maybe it's still maybe it's still gonna evolve. Maybe it's still still in the growing stage, but
It's the
I don't know.
first draft.
I feel pretty solid about it, so
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see.
All right.
It's called The Core. His breath gracing my neck, the pure vapor of hallucinating wonder dripping down my spine. The coiled snake awakens as she twists and turns around the shrouded vine. Climbing to the edge of mystery, I tremble in the splendor of what beauty. The clouds called me to soar through dreams, floating in a shared skin that touches my sin. Trip on a crack, snip, snap, splat. A dance on the moon that ended too soon. Shot in the dark, arrows aimed at the heart, spinning back to earth, covered in flames, peeling flesh from the bone in small strips, clawing at throats, choking to breathe. We go insane, caught in a perpetual cycle, magic with dismay, pain with embrace, to the one who brought me to the core.
Is the core metaphor for the military?
I think the core of my depth, but yeah, could be. That's a good one.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, that's definitely and a little background too. Yeah, so you're just going through a separation right now,
Right now.
from a very new and exciting love. So
It was new and exciting.
Yeah, and then
And it got messy, really messy and really ugly.
Obviously. It was like bits of missing flesh, I believe. There was
that's how it felt. Like
lots of gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, that was totally intense.
You've always been a poet. You don't meet many people that are expressive in that way, openly and consistently. You know what I mean? Like, you've always been a poet. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I bet you have a slew of stuff.
I do. It's just I'm so unorganized with it that it's like all over the place. So I really need to like go through all of my books. Like I have stuff from, childhood basically. And it's just sporadic. It's like mixed in with like acting books, so you'll see like pages of like acting notes or like different scenes that I'm doing. And then it's like, here's a poem in there. So I just kind of need to get it all together and really, really see what I have. Cause it's all over. But
that would be a really interesting project.
I definitely need to do that once I get settled into my new place. All right. Do you want to hear this last one?
I do. Okay. What's it called?
It's called Fierce Woman. Impressions of lessons leave dark scars, confusion and illusion of who we truly are. The backhand of a society of men questioning our logic and goals of which we have not met. Worth by looking in a mirror and yet still feeling inferior. When the truth of the goddess looking back is the answer to the deepest life hack. I will stop giving my power away. I am the one to choose my fate. No longer will the quiet whimper be my comfortable reaper, waiting to die because of the pain in the eyes of the lies that we have spoken for too long. This steady hardship is all wrong. My heart beats strong, and I know I belong. In a world where love is everywhere, in everything, every moment as significant as the other. Who am I to judge these moments and instead see them as endowments of everything perfect about my life now and my life to be? That to me is what it means to be free.
giant thanks to Brielle Gearson. I wish you the best on your crazy winding journey. We're really living it up though. Super proud of you. Also want to thank Sipos Alex for this song right here. It's called Grown Up. I want to thank Electric Apricot for the song Hey Are You Going to Burning Man off of the Electric Apricot soundtrack. If you haven't seen it, Les Claypool, I'm pretty sure he writes it and directs it. He's freaking hilarious. I can't, I mean, it's, watch it. It's a mockumentary. Axian as well for your music. If I Ever Build a House. The Great Hadaway. What is Love, baby? I added the baby, I'm sorry. What is Love? The Night at the Roxbury soundtrack. And of course, once again, Birocratic. Bob Ross Goes to Hollywood. All of these songs and more you can find on bandcamp.com. Go support independent artists. Go support these people because they're human beings with families and dreams and goals, and you can help them just with $1, 50 cents, $5. Name your price. Most of these albums are name your price, so build your collection. Feel good about supporting the local art, and thank you once again to Bo Maddox and Ashley and Dakota Chancellor, Robert Oregon from the Collateral Cinema universe. Those guys are really picking up on their production, and everything is getting super tight over there in their little neck of the woods. So also very proud of them. It's very cool. If you're wondering how I'm doing good, man. I got no complaints. I'm kind of back doing what I was doing, painting houses. Making enough money to feed my family and do a podcast, play some Fortnite, talk to my friends, and, you know, enjoy life. So I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. And I hope you are doing good as well. And whenever it is, I hope you join me next time. I'm sure whoever I talk to is going to be a very special person. I don't know who it is, so maybe it's you. If you're listening to this right now and you want to have a conversation with me, give me a holla. Trial by Error Variety Show at gmail.com. Trialbyerrorvarietyshow.com for everything else. Find us on social media. Not really on it right now. Good luck. Till then, take care of one another. Take care of yourselves. Give lots of hugs and kisses. Spare change, spare food, spare weed. Just whatever you do, follow the golden rule. I mean, I honestly just feel like everything, I am where I am, even if I'm in a bad place. I kind of have to take a step back and go, okay, like, what do I need to learn from this? Because I'm here because I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be taking from this? Like, let's get the lesson and get the hell out of this funk.
You know? Yeah. Totally.